Born and raised in Chicago, Illinois. I went to Ravenswood School. It was on Montrose and Ashland. Went to Lincoln Park High School. I grew up a lot in Humboldt Park. I was always back and forth in Humboldt Park and then in the Brickyard area. It was a humbling experience growing up in Chicago, and it's weird every single time I go to another city like LA. I mean, as much as I love LA and as much as I love New York, it's just there's just certain humble living that Chicago has. I grew up taking the bus and I grew up taking the train. I grew up having 2-3 jobs at the age of 16. I working with my father before that. I remember having a job at 11 years old with my uncle taking care of dogs, and it's a certain mind state and a certain mentality that you have here in Chicago that you have to do for self. You got to take care of yourself. You have to know what you're gonna be and what you want to do and how you're gonna do it at an early age. And I think it just growing up here alone just kind of fueled and just kind of put that fire in my heart to let me know that I needed to do something big. I couldn't just go along with the trend of just wanting to be here and retire and just not be happy about what I was doing. I grew up, I wouldn't say with the bad crowd, but I grew up with the urban crowd. I was always getting into fights. Whether it was me one-on-one or me against 10 dudes. I was always getting jumped, but you know what? Even those dudes knew damn well they could never take my ass down. It always came down to either them running away or them like, yo, we're gonna come back for his ass. We gonna come back. I was never afraid. I was never one to back down from a fight, never one to back down from an argument. I was always very opinionated, and there was always something that I felt like I needed to prove. In every sort of facet. I could be in science class and not know a question, and I'll be like, I don't know this question, but do you know that, and I'll just make up something that's just completely different. I was always like this, the goofball in the class. I was always the one that was just the clown and always the one that brought joy to everybody. And even in bad circumstances, I always had a good outlook on everything. And I think it was just growing up here in Chicago. I always grew up watching my back. And I think it's just that Chicago mentality. I never turned a corner without looking. I never walk with somebody walking behind me without being like, hey, yo, who's this dude behind me? I'm always on the lookout. And I think it's just that type of mentality, that Chicago mentality growing up to always be on the defense. And I think that alone kind of helped me where I am in my career as far as not trusting people too much and always questioning what their loyalty was. It's like, who are they here to help me, or are they here to take something from me? Or are they just this fair weather person that they just want to see how far I can get them, and then once I get them to that point, boom, they're gone and I never see them again. And it helped my work ethic, man. Like, once again, having so many jobs as a kid, I remember, when the whole X Factor happened, I had just came out of a deal with Menudo and all that stuff, and I went back to working at a Starbucks, and I was working there for 2.5 years. And I'm having fans come in, they're like, oh my God, Carlito, can we get an autograph? And I'm there like, all right, guys, so you want a mocha frappuccino? Like, what can I get for you? Like, for me, it was nothing bad at all. It was like, hey, you know what? I think, if anything, you're gonna respect me more as the fact that you see your favorite artist is working down at the Starbucks down the street, not because he's a bum, but because he's smart as hell and he's got no choice but to survive. That was just always that Chicago mentality that I always had. I was never afraid of any opinion that everybody had about me. I was never afraid of anything. Like, I'm my own person, I'm my own man. I always keep my father as a big influence, and he's a hardworking man, and still to this day, he's not retired. And why should I take anything in that sense as far as getting something easy? It's just a humble living out here, man. Like, I love seeing like a Honda that's almost breaking down, but someone's still driving it, because that person driving it doesn't give a shit about what you think. He's got a car. He's got 4 wheels, but then there will always be somebody talking shit about that messed up Honda he's driving. And then it'll be like, you know what, F you, that's why you walking and you're taking the bus right now. So I don't know, man, it's just a different lifestyle, and there's humble people and there's just gentle hearts. But while at the same time, there's always people trying to test you. And I feel like it's just something that's always motivated me to let me know that I can't let my guard down, and I'm always just gonna be, ready for them and always be prepared. So yeah, man, Chicago.
Plus, we were used to getting so much money that I didn't want to go back to the backpack $1,000 show.
That's great that you find me attractive, but I root myself and I pride myself more on the fact that I'm intelligent, I'm actually talented, and I'm probably one of the coolest people you're ever gonna meet.
There's a funny side to me. For so long, it didn't come out because it was just like, yo, I'm from Brooklyn and I'm tough and I'll punch you in your face, which is absolutely true to this day.
I'm Puerto Rican, that doesn't mean I do reggaeton. You know what I'm saying? I barely speak Spanish like that. Like, I make music that sounds like gangsta, like Mobb Deep, Wu-Tang, like that's what I do.